awkward. And moving right along.
Moving along to the Finance Committee meeting. Welcome everyone to our second meeting of the evening. The Finance Committee, May 5th. My name is Daniel Schultz. Roll call starting with Ms. Lovin. Ms. Lovin.
Oh, sorry, I'm Jennifer Lemon here.
Robin Murphy present.
Liam Mullihan present. Caroline Watts present.
Charles Burdell Williams present.
Zachary Epps present. Splitstein is online.
Mia Blitz.
And I am present. Mr.
Mia Blitzstein.
Thank you, Mia. We or Ms. Blitzstein, we hear you. Next is there a motion for approval?
So
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, Mr. Swinehurst.
Thank you, Dan. I don't have a tremendously long agenda for this evening. Wanted to look at our interim financial information. Now we're getting closer to the end of the year and the financial picture is starting to become clear. Also wanted to take a look at, I apologize, these two slides were on the slide deck for yesterday, but relevant to the conversation tonight. The financial information for the capital projects in Cap Reserve Fund. I think now that these two projects are starting to move with this bond issuance, we should start to look at cash balance, project outlays as a totality, not just a spend per project. And the last item is the food service fund. As we're talking about the food service management company renewal and the process, I think it's also important to talk about food service fund performance over the past couple of years and to date, and to incorporate these reports into our ongoing meetings each month. All right, so looking at our general fund balance sheet, this is going to sound like beating a dead horse here, but our cash balance is decreasing, and that is because the amount that we had in the general fund that we would payable back to the capital reserve fund is being depleted to fund the stadium project. So we have an 8.3 million drop in cash. We have a 9.6 million decline in interfund payables, so money due from the general fund to the capital reserve fund. The other new item from this month, carryover from last month, is the deferred revenue is made up of our tax equity money. As per the budget that we've been discussing, we had $2.2 million received this year that is slated for the 26-27 school year. Looking at the overall revenue and expenditure picture, to date, we have $127 million of revenue through the end of April versus $123 million at this time last year, and expenditures to date of 107.9 versus 105.8 at this time last year. Overall, our net change in fund balance through the end of April 30th, 2026 leaves us with $19.5 million of excess fund balance to carry us through the end of the school year, and $17.8 million as of last year at the same time. The next page provides more information on what consists of that $127 million of revenue and the $108 million of expenditures. So our local source revenue is $1.7 million greater than the prior year due to real estate taxes. This time last year, we had collected IDA monies from the IU. We have submitted for collection of those monies, but they did not come by the end of April. That accounts for an additional $1 million difference. Otherwise, we'd be about $2.7 million over the prior year. On the state side, if you recall from a previous Finance Committee meeting, we collected a $900,000 check for the capital improvement grant that's reflected in this $2.7 million increase. And the spend for that roofing project, that capital improvement grant, is reflected by this large increase down here in facilities. We also, for the first time in district history, recognize that tax equity money and revenue this year, and we recognize additional PCCD grant monies this year, all of which account for the $2.7 million increase year over year in state sources. This time last year, on the federal side, we had some IDA monies that were residual. That grant ended in the fall of 2024. And of course, since that has expired, we don't have the same funding coming through the federal government. Looking at expenditures, looking at this first line item, regular program expenditures, this is our regular instruction. It primarily consists of teaching salaries and benefits. But the largest reason for the change this month is we are starting to see a catch up in charter school tuitions. So with the late passage of the budget, meant there was a delayed issuance of the school district's PD 363. So a portion of this $1 million increase year over year is teacher salaries and benefits in line with collective bargaining agreements. But another piece of it that's different from prior months is now we're starting to see charter school bills flow in. And that's, again, purely a factor of time. You can see on the flip side, we had received some monies for charter schools, and we had reversed the accrual from the prior year, which kept our charter schools flat on the special ed side. But we're still one payment behind to the IU on some of their general services, so we are showing a decrease in special ed. Administration services, that's primarily salaries and benefits of our CASA members, principals, legal fees. We have, I believe, a couple of principals who started late in the prior year. We had a handful of vacancies at the high school, and because they started late, we had reduced expenditures in the prior year that are not reflected in this year, as we had full employment at the beginning of the year, if you recall that conversation from a prior month. On the transportation side, we don't actually have a decrease year over year. We paid the last month's invoice 1 day late. It crossed over the month end, so we're actually on pace, matching our contract to 4% increase year over year. And those are the highlights of the revenue and expenditure collection. I know there was a lot of information. Any questions on anything that was presented?
Any more questions from Mr. Riddell on this?
Just a clarifying question on the state source revenue. The increases that we're seeing, if I were to break this down, it's the $1.2 million tax equity payments that we've received and some amount of PCC grant funding, correct?
That's correct. Last year was the first year we got that $1.2 million. We were able to recognize it as revenues last year. And a large portion of our state subsidy revenue comes in June. So the June 1st payment for the end of the year. So a lot of that catch up will happen in June. Because this tax equity money is different, we applied for it in December and we got the check in the spring. Same thing we did this year. The timing of it is a little different than prior years.
And just to further ask, right, so that great, glad we're getting that fund and we don't have to wait until summer for it. Are we expecting a second 1.2 this year, or is that for the next budget cycle? Or is it supposed to be for next year's budget? I think we've kind of asked this question a couple of times.
Oh, yes, it's
allocations.
So for the school year ending 24-25, we received state subsidy money, and that's the primary source of subsidy we receive from the state, the basic education subsidy. For the 25-26 school year, the state kicked in tax equity money.
Yes.
And we were able to recognize that as revenue this year, the first 1.2 million. So we did that this past month, which led to an increase in revenues. And typically, the bulk of our state subsidy money comes June 1st as a wire from the state. So the reason we're seeing this money a little sooner, it looks like we have a big increase. It's just the timing of which we're receiving tax equity. We received the 2.2 for next year already, and instead of reflecting that as revenue, it is parked here on the balance sheet as deferred revenue.
I did see that. Yep.
Deferred for next year, so it's a liability until we meet the requirement of using this money to offset future tax increases, which is the plan for the next fiscal year.
So I can thank my local state representative and state senator. That would understanding the timing of the payments. Just at one point, I thought I was clear on it, but I appreciate you reminding me and potentially for the other.
Any other questions, Mr. Epps?
Thanks. You mentioned something about charter school payments and timing. Could you just elaborate on that?
So if you recall, last year, the budget was approved late, and the district had to fill out what's called a Form PDE 363, which is the tuition calculation for charter schools. It's what they use to charge the school district monies. So that was done late last year. So a lot of our charter school payments, which on a normal budget year, the budget's done 7/1. We fill out our PDE 363 because there's no law changes around what the tuition calc is. And charter schools can start billing us right away in September, October on a monthly basis. Because that form was talked about in the budget, that it was going to be a definitive part of the budget, we weren't getting all of those charter school bills on a monthly basis. They were waiting until the 363 to come out, which was late last year. So we received a lot of charter school bills late. And again, this year's budget, they revised the PDE 363 for the second year in a row. And again, it pushed the process late. So we received charter school bills last year for 24-25, a significant amount, almost $900,000 of bills for 24-25 in March and April. That's how late. So they're trying to reconcile the prior year, and they're pulling it out of our subsidy in March. At the end of last year, when we completed our audit, we tried to calculate what we thought the unbilled tuition was. So we did a calculation. We have this many students at this school, this many students at this school, this many at regular. We did it, and we accrued $850,000, knowing that there might be one or two plus or minus. So we're starting to see that money flow now. Everything is very, very good. And it potentially is intentional. I don't know how the charter school business works, but I imagine, there's probably been a lot of extra paperwork, a lot of extra shuffle for residency, a lot of extra math trying to make things work with a reduced tuition for those schools. And maybe fighting over students in residency, being so late in the process as, well, this person belongs here, this person belongs here.
So is it partially driven by the process changes that may not happen next year, every year?
Correct.
But then part of it is discretion, charter school management organization of like when they want to submit these in.
Yeah, I don't know on their end what the holdup is, but some charter schools we don't get billed until almost a year after. So of course, with every charter school bill, we review every student, we review their residency. We use all tools at our disposal to verify that the residency is accurate, and that the student attended the school before we either make payment or we dispute payment. So it goes both ways. We have a lot of outstanding disputes that are essentially a legal process, and we have some that we pay because we agree the student was a resident of the township and was attending a charter school.
I didn't actually know there was that process beneath the surface around. Like actually, school districts do have some kind of verification and some kind of say about those payments. So that's helpful.
So the vast majority of our charter school students are cyber charter students.
Right.
So, it may be they never step foot in a Cheltenham school district building. Maybe they moved into a residence within the township, logged online, where they're living there, attending cyber charter. We would not know.
Yeah.
So, yes, correct.
Just as follow-up, what size, what proportion of students are in charter school? And
We have about 140 students out of 4,100 that attend public charter schools, and about 85% are cyber out of 140. So the vast majority are opting as a public charter school because they want to attend cyber, not in person.
Just a clarification on, is it 140 out of 4,100, or is it 140 cyber charter, or 140 charter schools in 4,100 in our district?
The latter. I'm sorry, 141 cyber charter kids and 4,100 students in our school.
thank you, correct.
Any other, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I think that red dot was always there with that number, but just in case there are any questions from the public in the Q&A. So,
So just for reference, our total charter school budget spends about $3.5 million for those 140 students.
This might be way too far in the weeds. But do we have situations where it's like, thinking of the timing of it, where like a student may have started the year in a different district and then moves to Cheltenham, continues at a cyber school? I guess that's a situation where we wouldn't learn that until, I guess, whenever we got built, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah. The other school district wouldn't be, so I guess it's the moment they moved into it, that's when the first cost. It's not like the annual, for this year, you know, say you were in Central Bucks covers you for that year, they cover you for that moment
I think
until you move.
I think that piece could be part of the reason for the delay, where the school was investigating the student, says the student moved out in October, and the charter school says no. They always say no. And then they say, well, we're going to investigate where they actually are. And then they may say, oh, they did move to Abington or Cheltenham in October, and then all of a sudden it appears in Arville. And then we're scrambling. Well, when did this student move here? Trying to verify residency. And then they're required to provide enrollment forms. They're required to provide limited residency information, which isn't always the greatest. Most of the burden of proof falls on the school district to show whether students living in or outside the district.
Thanks.
And there is a legal process in which we dispute this. The state takes a completely neutral stance. If we disagree with what a charter school is saying we owe them or what a student's residency, it goes into the court system. I think the case log is 3 years at this point.
Oh,
Because it is such a mess.
that's at the state.
Learning lots of fun things. Any other board questions or comments?
All right, so looking at our structural surplus in graphical form, you can see this line is closing. Obviously, with the blue line to be in excess of the red line by the time we get to the end of the year. And I'm very hopeful, somewhat confident we will be at that point. And looking at collections now through the end of April of 2026 versus prior years, we're starting to see some changes. We're seeing our first decrease in real estate transfer taxes year over year, which would indicate some sort of slowdown in property sales within the township. And we've been anticipating this for quite a while because of the drop in the prime rate set by the Federal Reserve and the reduction in the amount of money that we're investing as we fund the construction project and pay the money back to the cap reserve fund. We're now showing a decrease in interest earnings year over year. If there is a silver lining in the mess with the oil markets worldwide, it is that it has signaled to the Fed Reserve that there is upward pressure on inflation and that the Fed rate is held steady, which means we're realizing a higher investment return. The one silver lining. Before I move on, any questions on this slide? All right, so this brand new schedule was unveiled 2 months ago. Bigger with everything closed. So I unveiled this 2 months ago because I thought it was important to understand what our cap reserve and cap projects were looking like through time. If you recall, we've roughly been holding about $22 million over the past 3 years. We funded various projects. We paid for a $2.2 million project to upgrade all of the emergency infrastructure and fire alarm at the high school. We have a Myers playground recoding, a Glenside playground recoding. We have 5th and 6th grade furniture, so we pre-funded all the furniture for Elkins Park and to go in the new building additions at Glenside and Cedarbrook. We closed out the Cedarbrook Middle School project that had been hanging open for many years. And at the end of last year, at the end of June 30th, 2025, we had $22 million left over for construction projects, various construction projects throughout the district, with $1 million already spent on the stadium and anticipated another 11 million drawdown. That's 22 million. So the plan was with the cap reserve to draw that down to about $10 million and start paying for some desperately needed projects across the district. So now here we are in 2026. We've started spending money on Glenside. We started spending money on Cedarbrook. We've continued the construction process and spending money on the stadium. And the one difference in this month, we issued the bond money and received it last month. So now this shows up as addition to the cap project, cap reserve money. And right now, as of today, we are left with $28.9 million to fund Cedarbrook, Glenside, and the remainder of the high school stadium. So at the end of this $15.8 million is designated specifically and directly for Glenside and Cedarbrook, and there'll be another bond issue to close out both of those projects as well. Those bonds are issued specifically for those two projects, and we account for all of these projects separately. We have a separate budget code set up, a separate fund set up, but consolidated, this is the overall picture of our construction activity within the district. Any questions on this schedule? What questions?
I'll just say to the members of the public, feel free to type in the Q&A section. We won't wait for those to come in, but when they come in, we will address them. So that section.
All right, now revisiting our food service fund through the end of April. All right, so just a quick refresh. We have the past 3 years, 2023, 2024, 2025, and then the current fiscal year, the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year, and this is through the end of April. This first line item, charges for services, these are paid lunches. These are students that are not on free or reduced lunch. This is the amount of sales through the end of April. According to prescribed form, next we list our operating expenditures, which consist almost primarily of invoices from Whitson's, our food service management company, as well as other various supplies. This $50,000 represents equipment purchases throughout the year to replace some of our obsolete, aging, and non-functioning equipment, namely convection ovens, steamers, you name it. And then the last part of this financial statement reflects on our state source and our federal source revenues. This is our reimbursement from the state and federal government for participating in the National Schools Program. So without this contribution from the state and federal government, this fund operates at a significant loss. The state subsidizes school lunch, and it results in our goal, as always, to finish as close to break even as possible. Because of the changes in funding in the prior years, we have run a surplus. That has also enabled us not to increase lunch prices since I've been here. And I don't know the last time lunch prices were even increased. And clearly wouldn't be recommending an increase for next year, but that'll be reflected in June's budget and pass. We do have quite a bit of capital needs throughout the district. A lot of our food service equipment is 7, 10, 15-year-old lifespan equipment, and some of our buildings are reaching that phase. So we do have a plan drawdown and a plan spend of some of our fund balance, which is a little high after the past couple of years of operations. All monies in the food service fund are designated specifically for said food service fund. Obviously, capital investment gives us the most value of our dollar, being able to spread that benefit out through future years. Any questions on the food service fund? All right, taking a look at the Act 1 timeline. So we just very recently received our certification of property tax relief, which remained flat year over year. So there's no change to the $5 million allocation. to Cheltenham Township, and that was approved. In April, we approved our proposed final budget that's posted on the district's website with the planned adoption on June 9th at the legislative board meeting. Not only is it posted on the district website, it's also available here in the administrative office, and the adoption date will be advertised in the local paper as well. And the last item on the agenda is just revisiting the food service management company process. So currently, Whitson's Culinary is our food service management company. Their contract expires on June 30th, 2027, with annual renewals that take place every year. Obviously, this year, instead of an auto renewal, we did an RFP process, a request for proposal, received proposals from additional companies. Back in December, we submitted that RFP, which is several hundred pages, to the state for review and their approval. When that was complete, we advertised the RFP. We held a pre-bid walkthrough with multiple food service management companies on March 18th. We had our bid opening on April 7th that had 5 respondees. We had our wellness committee review those responses and score those responses based on a scorecard that was approved at the state level. Over 50% of points on said scorecard as required by the state are related to cost. So a lot of that feedback was pre-populated. Upon scoring those initial bids that we received on April 7th, we narrowed it down to 3 finalists. We held a taste testing on 4/28 with those 3 finalists. We compiled the taste testing results, and we gathered references and received input and feedback from the proposed food service directors at each of these companies, which was the Cheltenham School District. And next week, we will be recommending a food service management company to operate at Cheltenham School District for the 26-27 school year. So we're still in the process of completing that final scorecard. We're still in the process of verifying references, and we will have that in time for the next legislative meeting. But I wanted to share some pictures from each of the respondents. The top 3 candidates, one was Aramark. They're up here at the top left corner, sampling some of their foods, talking to some parents. The invitees to this taste testing consisted of the school district's wellness committee and nutritionist, as well as a panel of students from Cedarbrook East, Cedarbrook Middle School, and the high school. The middle picture is a food station here staffed by Whitson's, and the last picture is from Chartwell's, who is the 3rd finalist in the food service management company search. So that's the English. Thank you. Any questions on that process? I know it's kind of long-winded. Yes, Mia.
Just could you refresh my memory? Who did we have as our food services provider prior to Whitson's?
It was Chartwell's.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just, you did say this, Josh, but I'm just making sure I understand. It's a 1-year contract, and every year it's a 1-year contract?
So when we do the RFP, it's a 5-year contract with a guaranteed maximum profit at the end of each year. So each year you apply to the state, you can either renew it or you can go back out for RFP, but that base amount holds steady for that 5 years until you have to mandatorily complete the whole process. Here on year 4, we've had some significant changes in the food service operations. Obviously, we've shifted students around buildings. We've gone community lunch, which have had Whitson's request to change that guaranteed profit at the end of the year. And as well as, we've had some, I don't want to say challenges, but we've had such change in the food service. The way we operate food service, I'm surprised the state didn't require us to go out for RFP to get a new number. So we felt like it was time to do that. We felt like it was time to hit the reset button since things have changed so much. And the consolidation next year of 6th grade to the middle school is just going to help whatever operation is occurring, because we're not going to have 2 extra kitchens like we have now operating and serving students.
Any other board questions? I will just say on this item, there's a lot going on in our district and in the world, but in the past, when we have bid for food services, we made a point to request use of sustainable materials and not using styrofoam. And Mr. Swigert, I believe you said that all 3 finalists are continuing that, so I just wanted to celebrate that win. Whether it's a reflection of our district's values or a change in the industry, it is nice to see all 3 vendors.
So the RFP allows for additional requirements required by the school district specified in the RFP that we work all sustainable products.
So thank you. Ms. Woods, yes, your hand.
Thank you. Sorry, I was wondering if we were going to see the results of the taste test. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend. I am on the wellness committee, so I couldn't share my feedback, but I'm wondering if we have feedback from the participants.
Yes, one of the individuals who's scoring the results who was filling out the scorecard so we can complete the RFP process, still has to provide their scorecard back to me. They were out sick for several days. But when I get that back, then I don't mind releasing that feedback from the students, the wellness committee. I just haven't done it yet because I don't want anyone to reach out and influence their decision otherwise.
Totally makes sense. Thank you.
I don't know the scores. I have not seen or opened up the scorecards for many of the individuals yet. I plan on doing that all at once when they're all completed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Fine. I had one question about process question around timeline for clarification. Regarding the vote for approval on a budget in June, if the budget that is currently on display were to change, can that change, or is that locked in, or do we have to have any changes before a certain amount of time ahead of?
So a request for tax increase can only go down.
So if it goes down, that would be okay. If it were to go any higher, then that would reset it. You cannot.
Without re-advertising, reposting and postponing. But we also didn't ask for an exception to go beyond the actual index, so we're capped.
Understood. So it may go down. Or not. It could go down. Thank you very much. And then the bond issuance, just as a reminder, it's gonna be for later. Do you remember roughly how much a year that translated to?
So the bond is phasing in over 3 years. It's about $720,000 a year. Rather than hitting all at once, that would be an impossible task. So
it's ramping up to that point. And thank you.
So we still have one more bond issue of approximately $10 million. So it's spaced out 727.7.
Thank you very much.
A little less than that, actually. Last year's. So under $2 million.
That's it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So
First, second. Sounds great. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.